Good evening, everybody. Welcome to episode 61 of the Thrifty Marketer Talks. I'm so glad to be here. Not the usual time. It is 1 hour early than our usual time at 8:30 p.m. IST or 10 a.m. EST. On the show, I wanted to bring some guests who would like to speak about marketing strategies or brand building strategies for specific sectors, right? For example, real estate was one of them. I wanted to do it for SaaS. So I'll be bringing on some guests who will be talking about building brands in a particular sector. So I was looking, the first thing which came up to me, a lot of people in my community ask about real estate marketing. I was looking for a good guest who has done stuff in that area and I could find one. So today I have Kurt Uhlir with me. He is a globally recognized marketer, operator, and speaker. He has built and run businesses from startup to over 500 million annual revenue, assembled teams across 6 continents, being part of the small team leading an IPO of $880 million and participated in dozens of acquisitions. He was at the front lines creating several of the marketing channels we all use today, including social media management, influencer marketing, and location-based marketing. In recent years, he has focused on helping individual business owners and marketing agencies with a heavy focus on real estate. That's why I wanted to speak to Kurt on the show. Kurt and his team have analyzed more than 50,000 real estate websites over the past 3 years and the agent businesses behind them to identify what's working in modern marketing. So we have some amazing questions for Kurt. Let me bring him on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, Kurt, how are you doing?
Good.
Good, fantastic. Thank you so much for taking time to come on the show. I can't wait to start off. So I have curated a set of questions for you. So if you're ready, we can start off.
I'm great. We can stay with those or go anywhere you want to go.
All right, fantastic. All right, so Kurt, as the topic today is maximizing real estate marketing. So I would like to start with the first question should be, what are the current trends and best practices that you have seen in real estate marketing?
Yeah, I think it comes around a couple different things. And so there's really three trends that I'm seeing now. And so one is agents are realizing that they have to have their own website, not just to continue generating leads, but to stop the attrition of their clients going to Zillow. Because what's different than every other industry is if you're an electrician or you're a SaaS company, there's not any other industry where when a lead signs up in your website that a competitor will call you. But in the US and Canada, if I don't have a website my clients will actually use, they're going to go to Zillow and a competitive agent is going to get their info. And so that's a huge trend that agents are waking up to now and that it's actually possible. The other two things is one is just kind of it's good marketing practices, but agents, because the market has slowed down in the US so much, agents are realizing that they're not doing as many transactions right now. So they're taking this time to clean up their client data and update it in their CRMs. Sometimes they're going to I'm friends at they're more than just they're not a marketing agency, but they do much more in real estate, but they're called Agent Hub 360. The primary reason people come to them is because they just go, look, your closet's dirty. The data is ugly. You don't know where that green shirt is you love. We help you fix that. That's so second trend. And then the third one is because people are not actively buying and selling as much, they actually have a better opportunity to call past clients and people and go, look, I know you're not looking or buying and selling, but can I set you up for just a couple of alerts for your current neighborhood? So you want to know you're going to be in your house for the next 2 to 10 years. I can let you know when your neighbors are upgrading their bathrooms by signing you up for open houses, so you can actually go see their open house, see the open house when they're trying to sell, and people will just choose that like that.
Absolutely, fantastic. These are real amazing insights for people who are into real estate and people who are new to real estate marketing. Right. The second question I had was, how can real estate agents and firms effectively use digital marketing to reach their target audience?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the two things is so there's consistency and then there's trying things. And so assuming agents have that website of theirs, They just need to get started. And the consistency part is they need to be doing a little bit of content marketing specifically around building community pages every week or two. Hey, I'm in a city called named Roswell in the state of Georgia. And so that may mean property types, condos for sale. And I just build one page that's just focused on condos or individual neighborhoods. And it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And so I think in some of the other questions we'll talk about it, but that consistently just doing one or two of those community pages every week, it doesn't take a lot of time, but over the course of 6 months to a year gives so much content from a digital marketing perspective, the world changes. And then the second thing is there's a bunch of things that agents could be doing. And agents love shiny objects. They're going to chase something. But so try new things, but your goal is not to get big numbers. Your goal is to find something that you will do consistently. Is it Instagram posts? Is it lives on Facebook? Whatever that is, I want you to try things that you're going to do consistency because the numbers will be meaningful over time. You don't need 10,000 people to follow you on YouTube tomorrow.
Right. Absolutely. That's anyway, digital marketing or social media marketing is a long-term play. Right. So, just with your experience, you have been in this field for a long time. You have done stuff. So what role do social media platforms such as Facebook and Instagram, like you mentioned, play in real estate marketing, and how can they be leveraged properly?
It depends on which agent I ask. So I go in and I talk to a lot of associations and some of the multiple listing services in the country. And some agents are doing really, really well with social media. And but more often than not, I hear agents go, I tried social, it doesn't work, it doesn't help. And it's because they don't know why it failed. But the reason that some agents are doing well and most agents have failed is because of the type of content they're sharing. Most agents, all of that they do, they share content that's only useful on those social media platforms for when their clients are actively buying and selling. So when I'm actively buying and selling a house, I care about the new house that you just helped sell, the new listing that you got. That's meaningful. But like if we go with an average of, hey, usually people only move houses about every 10 years. That means, if it takes 6 months to actually look for a new home, well, that means then an average only like 95% of the people that you know are not actively buying and selling. So you need to provide content to them that's meaningful to them to keeping you top of mind. And that's a different type of content. And most smart agents don't do that. And so they're only talking to that 5% that are buying and selling. And so social media fails for them. But when you go outside and you say, hey, let me share other type of content that's useful to homeowners, to people that live in the community, man, social media is incredible then.
Right. I know you are talking from a lot of experience in that area. So these are good words of wisdom for people. Right. So talking about other digital methods, like email marketing. Do you think real estate agents and firms can use email marketing to engage with potential clients and maintain relationships with past clients?
Absolutely. And I mean, even more so now than just 5 years ago, because of the social media, how social media has changed. I mean, 5 years ago, you got such organic reach on Facebook, it was a different world. But now when you share content, there's only a small percentage of people see it. So if you're sending emails consistently, you can cut through. And I think agents and anybody needs to think about, we live in an influence economy nowadays. To be chosen as that real estate agent or whatever service provider in the future, you have to be sending useful content at least monthly. I think you should be doing it more. And we may talk about that, but that's where it's like, even on the social where I mentioned some of the content that's useful for when people aren't just buying and selling. Well, if you're building those community pages we talked about, just 1 or 2 a week, well, that gives you content to actually email out that's different than just, hey, remember me, I sell real estate. Like if you feature a neighborhood, if you feature local events that are going on, you now have useful stuff that's good for Google, but also that you can put out an email. And so I'll stay with Roswell as an example. I mean, there's a couple things that happen that I actually only remember that we do because of real estate agents local to me. One is we have the Chattahoochee Nature Center along the Chattahoochee River. And so it's a great place. It's a museum, outdoors thing for kids, but they do these canoe tours in the evenings and they open up and they book up fast. I remember it because I have 2 real estate agents that included in their newsletter when they send it out. It says, hey, the CNC is opening these up. And I go, oh, I should go sign up. And the other is the city does a live in Roswell. It's a free family event it's monthly. Actually, it's every Thursday. It's every third Thursday, April through October. Great.
Right.
Different themes for each month. I remember not only are we starting it, but why each month is different, because agents just they take the information from the city and they put it in a way that I care about, and then they send it to me.
Right. That absolutely the information you share also matters a lot, especially with email marketing.
Yeah.
Right. You touched upon Google. So let's talk about search engine optimization a bit. Like, for example, how can real estate agents and firms create and maintain an online presence through SEO and website design? You already touched upon website, but how is it possible for them to create a strong online presence?
Yeah, great question. So most agents know this, but actually a lot don't. But I know you have a lot of marketers here that are different. You know, what's different in real estate is to get the listings on the site and those search tools. It's called an IDX, and most tools that are out there, I mean, they were built 15 or 20 years ago, and so they use subdomains. So at my website, it would be search.kurtuhlir.com. Well, Google considers that a different website. It's smart enough to know that that's a different server than my main site. And so good luck. You'll never rank that on Google. But there's modern tools. I happen to work for one of those, Showcase IDX, that presents the data in a way that Google does like, but it's not just going to change everything. So for agents, it's using a modern IDX like Showcase IDX with that local content on those community pages I talked about. It's like, hey, paying $130 a month for a SaaS tool that brings all of these listings in, that's a meaningful part, but it takes the agent or a marketer doing the work to say, hey, look, you can talk for 5 minutes of why somebody should live in Bristol Oaks, this neighborhood I'm in Roswell. Tell me about it. Give me a voice note and let me as your marketer put it onto that community page for you, or you do it yourself, Mr. or Mrs. Agent. That's what Google cares about. And then everybody can become Patrick Higgins. He's Nashville home.guru. I don't know how many times I mentioned him on podcasts. He's a Compass agent in Nashville, Tennessee that has done exactly what I've said. And he's done it for the last 2.5 years. And he gets like 60,000 monthly visitors from Google every month.
Wow.
That's every agent can be Patrick Higgins.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure they need to follow the right, rules and play according to that. Cool. Let's talk about some modern stuff, like the latest kids on the block, like video marketing, and also virtual tours also play a role in real estate marketing these days. So, what role do you think video marketing and virtual tours play in real estate marketing, and how can they be effectively utilized?
Yeah, I mean, there's specific tools for virtual tours, and I'd say in most markets, not in all, but if an agent's in a mid-sized market, a competitive market, whenever they're the listing agent, they need to be investing in the virtual tours. It's going to come out of their own pocket, but it's meaningful for helping properties get sold, and very much so today. And it doesn't always have to be those super popular markets. I mean, I sold a family property in Alabama. And a friend of mine from high school sold the property for me. And he was amazed at how many people were coming and buying homes in this lake community from other parts of the country that had never seen the properties, but they knew they were moving from New York or Chicago. So you're selling a $1.2 million condo in downtown Chicago. Well, you'll like buying a $500,000 home in North Alabama in a lake community, like it's almost like a swipe my credit card type of thing because you're making so much from coming from a higher end market. And so the virtual tours really help your property stand out. But video marketing as a whole, he said that virtual tours, that's kind of a check the box for me because it's meaningful. Video marketing, though, is the new kid on the block. So many agents don't do it, and the bar is so low to get started. If you're doing your community pages we talked about, or if you were going to that Alive in Roswell event that I mentioned, like agents are scared, but like, look, if you just start doing this, I don't care if you're an introvert or not, your 60th one will be way better than your first one. I've done hundreds of podcasts and keynotes. And by me, I mean, the 20th keynote somebody paid me 5 figures to do was almost so much better than the first one somebody paid me to be. I almost wanted to give them their money back. And I improved so much better. And so for agents, I'm like, this isn't rocket scientist. All you have to do is take out your phone, and when you're at Alive at Roswell, you just talk about the event. It's meaningful content. You wrote that community page, pull out your phone, do a live stream because it's better for the algorithms than just doing a regular video, and talk about why somebody should move to the neighborhood you're talking about. You just wrote about it. It's easy to do the video on.
Right. Absolutely. The barrier of entry is too low for video, but people don't understand it and understand the value of it. Actually, it stays on and it lives on forever. Videos.
Absolutely.
And people prefer videos much, more than any other form of content these days. Right. So you touched upon content earlier a little bit. Let me just dig a little deeper. Let's talk about the type of content, or maybe the question is, how can agents and firms again effectively use content marketing to establish themselves as experts in their local market, or maybe stand out from the crowd? Because real estate is a cutthroat business. The competition is active. You are fighting with a lot of them. So how can they use content to stand out?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. It goes back to that agents need to think about. I mean, I mentioned it. We're in an influence economy now, and so how do you build influence? Whether it's in the email or social, and so your content is, hey, what would be meaningful content, and that should drive to people, and primarily when they're not actively buying and selling. Because like, hey, if you have a new listing, you're just going to promote that. But what's that content for the 90 to 95% of your clients that are not actively buying and selling, but is meaningful to them? And think about that. And you don't have to come up with it. You don't have to come up with this by yourself. And so the wonderful things about real estate is it's so hyper local. Go follow agents in other communities. If you find somebody in 5 other states that's in a similar size community to yours and that are doing YouTube successful, and just do exactly what they're doing for your local community. It's so hard, I think, for agents that are trying to be creative, and it's hard. And I'm just like, this is a great place to just copy from. I mean, Showcase IDX is a SaaS platform for that home search. But my team took time a couple of years ago, and we've updated every year. Like, you can get 300 pieces of free content for like social media content, videos, and just pure images, to use it as you want, or to seed your creativity from that. Because agents, once they get into it, they go, oh, if this works, then what else can I be doing as well?
Right, absolutely. Because I think with content, you don't have to reinvent the wheel most of the time. You can look at successful examples, emulate them, copy them, and then you will figure it out by yourself.
And use your current clients as examples. We have a mortgage broker here in Roswell. He'll leave a meeting with a potential client, and he'll do a Facebook Live sometimes. I watched some of his videos, but like there's 2 that stands out to me, and I've looked back and I'm like, oh my God, I've watched Alan for 15 minutes. But the one that stands out so much to me was I've been an angel investor. I've written checks for new companies getting started. And so he left a meeting with a client that was looking at buying a second home. And so he was talking to him for a mortgage. And that gentleman, him and his wife, had written like a $50,000 or $100,000 check to a medical marijuana company, legal in the U.S., legal in the States, but because of the way U.S. laws are, banks flag him. And so he was having a hard time helping this person with a great financial platform try to get a thing. And he started by going, did you ever think, depending on where you might invest, you might not be able to buy your next house? So this is somebody that was net worth millions of dollars, but because they'd written like a $50,000 check, was having issues with this second mortgage because the banks were saying, we can't do it. And I'm like, no, I haven't invested in that, but I'd never thought about that question. And so he tells stories without disclosing private information that it's so meaningful. Like, I'm not looking for another mortgage right now, but man, that story and others like that, he tells it in a way that's engaging, and it's also heartfelt because he's like, look, I know this person. They're a friend of mine. I'm going to get them a mortgage, but we might have to go through 15 banks to find it. Like that, right. You have those stories as an agent. Just tell them.
Absolutely. Storytelling, the key to everything related to marketing these days. Right. So other thing which every marketer, it's not only real estate, everywhere, people try things for a couple of months, then say it doesn't work, So the thing is, people are unable to measure the results of the efforts they are put in. Like, for example, that's a big challenge every marketer faces. So in real estate, it's not different. So how can real estate agents and firms measure the success of their marketing efforts and adjust their strategies? Do you have any take on that?
Yeah, great question. I mean, every agent should have Google Analytics installed.
Right.
For the agents, I'll tell you, Google Analytics used to be a lot easier. Their new version, GA4, is insanely difficult for most people.
Right.
You can set it up yourself, but it is one of those places where you should give somebody a couple $100 to set up some basic reports and alerts for you. It's the best investment you will make. Other than that, I'm a big believer in, like, yes, you should do some things that you just know are right, but measuring things, if you're focused on SEO, well, you may have a marketer you're working with that has advanced tools that are going to be too expensive for most agents. Ahrefs, FCM Rush, of course, like you, me, others. We have all of those, but there's cheaper ways to get some of that same SEO data that's meaningful for the average agent. Uber suggests there's a free version. Is it the best? No, but it's pretty good. And even if you pay for the one-time fee for like $100 or whatever, it's a really good investment. Another one is a buddy of mine started a marketplace. And so kind of like on the thrifty, cheaper side, I love having service providers I can go to all the time, but there's like I won't go to Fiverr. There's too much junk on there. But a buddy of mine in Portugal started a company called Vetted. It's 3 T's, vetted.com. And so it's vetted marketers and SEO professionals and others. But he has like a $5 a month, basically lightweight version of Ahrefs and SEM Rush. You can put in your website, and not only does it give you what you need to guide your SEO work as an average agent, but if you are choosing people to work with on that marketplace, you now can see, I hired this person, and when Tim finished his work, I can see my numbers going up. And so the Vetted is a nice new kind of approach to things because they truly are vetting people before they put them on.
Absolutely. I'll check it out, vetted.com. Nice. Right. So other thing which is common these days in every industry marketers do is collaboration, right? For example, I don't know the real estate industry that well, but how can real estate agents and firms collaborate with other industry professionals, maybe mortgage brokers or inspectors, to enhance their marketing effort? I don't know whether it works, but if it works, how can they do that?
It works very well for the agents that are willing to use their calendar and do it. So to it goes back to your question on content marketing. Coming up with content can be hard. It shouldn't be, but it's paralyzing for so many people. Like, every agent could talk about their community, but the moment I ask them to put words in a Google Doc, they freeze. If I say, give me a 3-minute voice recorder, they freeze. And if you find yourself stuck, that's where these other industry professionals are great. You know, as you mentioned, mortgage brokers, inspectors, all you need to do is reach out to them and say, hey, look, I send out a newsletter once a month. And can I call you and I will record the session, use Zoom, use Google Meet, use your phone, and listen to them and say, look, I want to ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Home Inspector, I want to ask you, it's approaching winter, we'll say. What are the 5 things you think everybody should do with their house as a home inspector that they screw up on? And call them and do a Zoom recording. You now have the video you can put out. You can copy. You can just take their words and put it onto a page, and now you can send it out in your newsletter. And the best thing is, those other professionals are not doing this, and so they probably are paying for Constant Contact, and they paid for it for 2 years and haven't sent a single newsletter. Well, guess what? They've still been collecting emails. So when you call that home inspector and you ask them for those tips, and you send it out and you put it in a video and you follow back up and say, hey, look, here's the video I did. Chances are they will then use that Constant Contact to email out your video to your website out to their people. And so that's the best way to collaborate, I find, is there's more complicated ways, but all of these local service providers, they're not doing the work. And so if you're willing to put in the time, use their knowledge, send it out to your audience, they're going to be so thankful. It'll help their businesses. And it just takes you putting time in your calendar and inviting them.
Absolutely. Finding the right people, inviting them, and doing it diligently. Absolutely. Let's go back to the old school methods, right? Earlier, now also it works. A lot of agents or a lot of firms, real estate firms, used to pick up billboards and print ads, etc. So, what role do traditional marketing techniques, print ads, billboards, etc., play in real estate marketing? Are they effective still? If yes, how can they be effectively utilized?
They can be used. I mean, for nothing else, I mentioned I live in Georgia. There's a gentleman that's now in 5 or 6 states around here. His name's Mark Spain, and Mark Spain does a. It's hard to drive anywhere without seeing a Mark Spain billboard. Sometimes when his team entered the Florida market, it was like every other billboard I felt like was a Mark Spain billboard. He is proof that billboards still work, but it's also pretty expensive. And so I think if you're not willing to make the investment, I would stay away from that. Print ads, on the other hand, whether they're postcards or in magazines or local flyers, they can be really good. And tools like Canva can make it really easy for an average agent to even free design the ads that they need. But I encourage people to only really look at those traditional tactics if they can get kind of the remnant. They can get those print ads on the cheap. What's left over? Don't pay the rate card. Wait to the end of the month and see what's available. There's some services that do that. It's often where I find having a marketer that I work with, that their agency is aware of those things. It just says, hey, look, when it's the end of the month and the end of the quarter, you've got the couple people you work with. Come back to me and tell me when it's 90% off, and I'll pick it up.
Right. Absolutely. You need to be really smart about it. Right. So let's talk about data and analytics a little bit more. So how can real estate agents and firms use data and analytics exactly to inform their marketing strategies? You touched upon it a little bit about Google Analytics. So is there anything else have you seen people missing out on which can improve their results?
Yeah, I firmly believe that in the medium and long term, all decisions should be made on data. The problem that I find in marketing as a whole, but especially in real estate, is people are looking for data in the short term, and the things that grow your business, that scale it the most. You're not going to see the results in the short term in 6 months. Hey, you start working on SEO, you're really building a good content marketing strategy. You may start to see some numbers on emails and content growing, but you need to plan on doing that for 9 to 12 months before you're going to see real movement. And so people too often will go towards data of pay-per-click, which you get instant results. I put in money, I get data, and that's meaningful. But so I think it's a combination of doing what you know is wise and will grow your business, and say, look, I'm going to start content marketing. I'm going to start an SEO plan. I'm going to do this work, and I'm going to invest 9 months. And I don't care what the data says. I'm going to use Google Analytics. I want to use some of these other things to get some meaningful data where I can. But you make the commitment up front that says, I'm going to do this regardless, even if the number stays 0 for 9 months. I'm going to do nothing but this. Because that's what it takes to see the best results. With that said, you should have analytics going from day one. We would always see the results. Like if you're doing SEO, I mean, I'm in a place now where I'm focused on enterprise SEO. I'm ranking for hundreds of thousands and millions of keywords, trying to go after tens of millions of monthly visitors. But even then, you never rank 1, 2, or 3 on Google until you've ranked 97. And so all of the tools let you see that progress from going from the 90s to the 70s to the 30s. And that's meaningful for some people on motivation to go, I'm on the right path. It's just going to take more time.
Absolutely. It's a long play. Right. Again, this question needs a repeat. So I'm just asking again, maybe you can share your 3 tips for this. Real estate markets across the globe, even in India, in US, everywhere, it's a tough market. Everywhere it's competition. People are not buying, people are not selling, but the competition is always high. So how can these agents and firms, maybe 3 tips from you based on your experience, how can they differentiate themselves in such a competitive market and stand out to potential clients?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have 3, but I definitely have 2 for sure. Maybe we'll see if there's a third. The first is to get to differentiation, you almost always are going to have to outsource stuff from the work that you can be doing. And so I don't care whether you like Richard Branson or not, or Elon Musk, like pick somebody like that and put a Post-it note up that says, would Elon be doing this? Would Richard Branson be doing this? And if the answer is no, you should be spending some intentional time to think about how can you get that part of your business off of your plate and onto somebody else. working with people in other countries, or that are just focused on, like, when I work with somebody like you that's just focused on marketing, you're so much more efficient than the average agent. Then I should be looking and saying, look, here's what I know I can give you today, and then what else could I do over time? And so in that example, like community pages, the easiest way to get stuff out there is for me literally to do voice notes and hand over a voice note for the neighborhood and the community pages to a skilled marketer that has a team that can do it like that and way more cost effective. Even if I might need to do it up front myself until I start generating a little more revenue. But the other big thing to differentiate, especially in real estate, at least in the US and Canada, I mean, other countries kind of have this as well, but in the US, Zillow is just such a dominant source for people. The way to differentiate is actually to go head to head with it and remind your clients and your local community that you are in a different business than Zillow. Zillow makes billions of dollars of advertising money or sponsorship money, basically providing consumer contact and budget information. And so pointing that out to your potential clients, it says, look, they make, if you follow through their numbers, they make about $1,000 per person every time they actually give contact information to an agent on the Zillow platform. Well, that's not what the average real estate agent's business is. The average real estate business is, you work with me and I help you make a wise transaction to get the best deal, whether it's faster or more money when you're buying and selling your property. So the compensation is very different, and the average consumer doesn't realize that. But when I see agents show up that way, things change for their business, and the referrals change, because I mean, I've seen this happen at barbecues and at parties in people's backyard, where somebody, an agent, actually, I've been the one kind of mentioning this. I'm not an agent. I'll mention, do you know what happens when you fill out your form on Zillow? And I'll watch somebody go, honey, did you use your Hotmail or like your real email to that? And then my wife's like, you have to stop telling people this, because like people get so then concerned about their private information. Well, I'm not an agent. I mean, if that's the reaction they get from me, what happens when the actual agent tells them that? And so I think that's the biggest thing is, like, you don't need to differentiate yourself from other agents. That's kind of okay, but you focus on different niches within your market, and you're just in front of a client. That's kind of the differentiation you need. The big thing is, how are you different than those massive portals like a Zillow or Trulia or even a Redfin, because their business model is different too.
Right, absolutely. Fantastic insights, Kurt. Thank you so much for your time. I have one final question which I ask every guest of mine. But real estate marketing is so different. And from the answers from the insights you were sharing, I could see that you have done a lot of work in that area. You can help advise. You do that to a lot of agents and firms in the space. It's a tough market, but with the right strategies in place, I think people can carve a niche for them, make good progress in that. Thank you so much for those insights. So my final question is about you. I have seen your keynotes as well. So I was expecting a Kurt with a beard. I've seen it on you with a beard on the stage. So, you have been doing multiple things in your life. You have been an inventor, entrepreneur, marketer, speaker, and many more things, right? So tell us a little bit about your journey so far and what lies ahead. What are you working on currently?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I mean, I have helped a lot of individual agents, or the showcase has, but my skill set is helping big companies. I'm probably going to stay in real estate, but I've been in more than a dozen industries. I tend to help big companies scale. And like they unlock what's often termed hypergrowth. And so I've written a lot about it. We've done that in some companies. I'm helping a really large company in real estate do that right now. Our goal is to figure out, like, how do we 10x the business in just a couple of years? And for a multi-billion-dollar company, that's a huge thing. And so it's also kind of exciting because, like, it's different than growing like 5% every year. But really my journey then, like, that's kind of the day thing. You mentioned like keynotes. Most of my free time and when my family goes to sleep is working on keynotes where somebody is paying me to come speak, or writing books on high achieving servant leadership. And so much of that content is available for free on my website right now. And actually people can help me with that, because I have this, what I think is a unique approach to high achieving servant leadership and helping individuals and companies grow, but I don't have it figured out. And so it's actually really helpful. People want to join that journey and come comment to things being like, hey, this is an okay article, but I have this question. I will probably write an article or do a video on it, because if you have that question, others do as well.
Fantastic. I'm so glad our paths crossed, Kurt. I've checked out your website. Amazing information there, and amazing keynotes, and lot of knowledge over there. So thank you so much for your time. I'll speak to you soon then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Right, so that was Kurt. Check out kurtuhlir.com. A lot of information, as he mentioned. He has written books. His keynotes are worth watching, and a lot of information for industries, especially real estate. So that was episode 61 of the Thrifty Marketer Talks. Next week, I have a U.S. Air Force leader, who is ex-U.S. Air Force leader, coming on the show to talk about cost-effective PR strategies for businesses. So see you all next week. Take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.